Hi everyone and welcome to episode 14 of Sights on Sinnoh, the Diamond and Pearl anime podcast. With me today is Carina. How are you doing this week?
Hello, I am doing good.
Perfect. We are here covering episode 23 and 24 of the show. So if you've been following along, we're getting through this. It's been going, but yeah, have you been able to catch up and see any of the episodes between these and the last one you were on?
Sure have. I am all caught up. I didn't watch the episodes in between super carefully, but I did watch
Sure.
them. So here we
Okay,
are.
perfect. Yeah, and that's totally fine. I am here to help recap that because I'm recording each of these, obviously. So hopefully that will help kind of jog the memory a bit as we go through them. We've kind of had some filler in these last few ones, I'd say, like maybe one or two, arguably. This one does have a feature of a Pokemon that I thought you'd enjoy. So we'll hopefully find out as we talk about Faced with Steelix Determination, which is episode 23, and the blurb reads a little bit like this. Team Rocket's latest misguided Pokemon snatching scheme digs them into a deep hole, deep enough that they accidentally bury their shovels in the head of a very irritated Steelix. Steelix goes on a rampage, and Team Rocket runs away, bumping into Ash and his friends in the middle of their mission to help a lost Bidoof find its home. So, this episode, like the other ones that we've covered before, has a cold open. I think this one's okay compared to the other ones. It just kind of shows everyone running, and then a hyper beam just plowing through these nests, I guess. And I think that's okay. Like it's not too jarring, and I think it establishes some action that's going to happen later on.
Yeah, I think it's better than the cold open for the next episode.
Yes, definitely. For me, the question is how and why is this Steelix just in the ground? Like, was it sleeping there? Has it just been like there since it was an Onyx to evolve, and that's how it's like strengthening its body to become steel? Because it starts off with Team Rocket just digging, and their shovels just get caught in what seems to be like a rocky surface, but it's the head of a Steelix, like I don't know, a few feet underground.
Yeah, that is a question. I just have so many questions about this episode
Okay.
in particular. But yes, we can start with this as to like why is Steelix underground just chilling? I have no idea. He's probably just taking a nap, I guess, and also like, what were Team Rocket digging for? I guess they said, like, pit traps, but, like, why I don't know.
Why
I
here?
don't know, man.
Yeah, I was like, you later on they run into Ash and friends, and they're like, "Oh, you happen to be here." It's like, wait, why were you digging these holes then? Like,
Yeah, exactly.
yeah, it's a very odd setup for sure. Um, Pit traps, of course, being a kind of throwback to some of the earliest ways that Team Rocket would try to capture Ash and friends. Honestly, like the very low tech way, and then this season they really ramped up the machines.
Yes, and, we do get some of those machines later on as well, so, no disappointments there, but yeah, a
Yeah,
very strange low-tech way to start things off.
comes around for sure. But yeah, meanwhile, as Team Rocket finds themselves caught in this Steelix situation, our heroes find a Bidoof that looks like it got injured.
Yeah, they found a Bidoof, and I was so ready for it to pop into a Pokeball the whole time, and it didn't, and I was very sad.
I was curious about this. Who were you expecting to catch it if someone in the party was going to do that?
Well, I stand by my very first prediction from the season, and that Dawn needs a Bidoof. And also, she seems to like
Mhm.
really go for the really adorable Pokemon, and I feel like Bidoof would fit right in.
That's fair. That's fair. I could see either Dawn or Brock getting it.
Oh, that's
Um,
true. Brock hasn't gotten anybody new. Like, is it just Krogunk that he's gotten this season?
yeah, just Krogunk. And the reason I thought he might get this Bidoof is because he was the first one to treat it, so maybe it took a
Oh,
liking to
true.
him. Yeah, but that doesn't really seem to pan out. as they find out that this Bidoof is lost, and the Pokédex says that lives near water, so they are like, oh, there's a waterfall on this map, so maybe it comes by this waterfall, which we'll actually get to, funnily enough, in the weirdest way. Um, so that's their new mission now, is like get Bidoof home. But that's when they get interrupted by Team Rocket, who is being chased by the Steelix that still has these shovels stuck in its head. And somehow Team Rocket just had the force of like a Machamp to just like really dig those in there because they are not coming out.
Yeah, that didn't. To be fair, that didn't look pleasant on the Steelix's end.
Yeah, I was trying to figure out if it was maybe like a magnetic thing or something, but it seemed like it was just the
I think it
pure
was
force.
just. Yeah, I think it was just really wedged in there.
Yeah. And that's kind of the running crisis of this episode, and kind of puts the tone of the episode in place as like the first 3 minutes. This is the thing, like they're being chased by a Steelix. They get to the Steelix home, basically, and that Steelix is still really mad and trying to dig its way in. So this whole episode is based around them trying to solve this problem.
Yeah, it's kind of fun that it's like Team Rocket's fault that they're in this situation, but also
Mhm.
Team Rocket like isn't the main antagonist here. And yeah, it's almost kind of fun seeing them being like on the same side of Team Rocket, kind of, which they kind of have been in previous episodes too, but like also not because they have like the common goal of wanting to not get smushed by Steelix, but also Team Rocket is like napping instead of helping out. But it's like, I don't know, kind of an interesting dynamic I feel like we're getting this season, with like Team Rocket not always being directly opposed to the twerps and what they're getting up to.
Yeah, I was gonna say that's the refreshing part for me, is that's not Team Rocket being the antagonist, and at least in a direct sense here, and giving that to Steelix, but still having them kind of be the root cause of it is kind of nice.
Yeah, for sure.
So
And also, before we move on, I just want to
sure.
take a second to appreciate the two Pokedex pullouts we've already had so far. So first, when we first see the Bidoof, I think we've already gotten a Pokedex entry, and I noticed that it's a plump mouse Pokemon, not a beaver
Yes.
Pokemon, which was kind
Oh.
of surprising. But there you go. Bidoof is a mouse, not a beaver, apparently. And then for Steelix, I like how they like Team Rocket comes running up and they're like running away from the Steelix and
Mhm.
it's like so mad with these shovels in its head. And Dawn is like, wow, Steelix. And she like pulls out her Pokedex like without even looking at it
Yeah.
and just like holds it up. And Steelix like very kindly takes a pause, like lets the Pokedex read its entry, lets everyone be like, wow, so big. And then it continues on.
Everyone has respect for that Pokédex, let me tell
Oh
you.
yeah.
They'll stop their rampage in its tracks for that entry. I don't think we've scanned Bidoof before, which was what I found interesting is that Ash immediately knew what it was. Like he said, "Oh, it's a Bidoof." The last place that I think he might have seen this was at the Jubilife City Pokemon contest because it was in like one of the montages of appeal rounds.
Yeah,
Like
I was just gonna say, I think
mm,
they would know what a Bidoof is just because they've seen at least one in
yeah,
competition so far.
exactly. Yeah. So that was kind of cool that they were like, oh, yeah, he would know what it is. So then this takes us to the main plot of the episode, which is them trying to figure out how to take the shovels out. And
Yeah, well, not even yet, because they're at this point still just trying to figure out how to not be destroyed by the Steelix, and they don't come up with the brilliant idea that maybe taking the shovels out would stop this rampage until like way later in the episode, I feel like. But for now, they're just like trying to survive this rampaging Steelix.
that's true. They're still in like flight mode, and it doesn't come for a little bit that they're like, oh, we can maybe like strategically approach this problem and not
But
just keep running. Which then takes us eventually to Dawn saying like, "Hey, we can get Steelix to be calm enough or like still enough to take the shovels out if we get it to fall into this crevasse that's in the middle of this Bidoof home." Because I don't know if I mentioned this earlier, but they make their way into this like I don't know what it's kind of like what Zootopolis City is in, where it's like a mountain kind of hollowed out
Village. It's a Bidoof village. It's like a little oasis
village.
for
Yeah,
adorable beaver mice.
and there's just like a big wall around it of solid stone, and an entry just small enough for humans and Bidoof to go through, but not for the Steelix. But it's super cute. It has like bushes that they made into nests somehow.
It's adorable. Also, I don't know if you watched this with the closed caption on, but there is a Bidoof mayor of this little village, and he's like the boss Bidoof calling all of the shots, and I loved it so much.
That's so funny. I don't think they ever call it mayor like in
Yeah, it's captioned as the mayor the whole time. It's so good.
That's amazing. Okay. Oh man. But luckily Meowth actually kind of gets separated from Team Rocket and comes along with them. And he translates what this Bidoof mayor is saying, where they apparently didn't go out to search for this Bidoof because they heard the Steelix rampaging around, and also that the rock around the Bidoof village won't hold out forever. So that's what kind of takes them to the next step, which is we need to get the shuttles out to calm down Steelix. Which I thought was kind of interesting that they felt the need to separate Meowth from Team Rocket to go in and translate this. Because Meowth, of course, can
Yeah.
speak both Pokemon and human.
But didn't Meowth get separated from Team Rocket by accident? Because
Yeah.
basically, like, yeah, Rocket was running from Steelix, and that's how they came across Ash and friends, and they were running and running, running, and then at some point, like Team Rocket, I guess, jumped aside or something, and Jesse and James were like, "Oh, we're fine." Like Steelix is chasing the twerps now, but Meowth was still running on ahead with the group that was getting chased. So I guess,
Yeah.
yeah.
The Steelix used the Hyper Beam and it like hit the ground in the angle where Meowth got separated.
Okay.
Um, yeah, so and then that's what led them eventually to the Bidoof village. Bidoof, Bidoof is also running pretty quickly for like being on its hind legs for a lot of that sequence.
That is true. Bidoof is just like A plus in this episode. It's all about the Bidoof
Yeah,
here.
it's surprisingly effective for a Pokemon that is, I'd say, forgotten fairly early in just the games when people are like putting their teams together.
Fairly effective looking at this point, but I will say later on, when they're like spoilers, when the Bidoof is up against the Steelix and they need like 8 million of them to get this measly shovel out. I'm like, really? Are you
Yeah.
that useless? But we'll get there.
Yeah, and as the team is putting the plan together, Team Rocket dispose of themselves by going into one of the nests to take a nap. The Bidoof mayor organizes all these Bidoofs to form a makeshift wall using stone and logs from like different trees that they have inside. And Piplup and Dawn go up to the top of the wall and try to ward off the Steelix a bit with some bubble beams just to keep it from smashing into the wall consistently. At this point, I'm thinking, why don't they just catch it? Like, try that through a
Thinking the
ball?
entire time, like, when they trapped it down in, like, that canyon, I was ready for
Mm-hmm.
someone to pull out a Pokeball, but nobody ever did. Um,
I don't know. You think maybe Team Rocket is like, oh, we can catch this. It's powerful. But yeah, no one thinks of this, which I find pretty odd.
yeah, very strange.
But anyway, as they're putting this together and trying to figure out what to do, the Steelix finally breaks through as Piplup's bubble beam runs out of power points. I
Yeah,
imagine.
it does literally nothing. Steelix just gets, like, a nice bubble bath and then breaks
Mhm.
through the wall, no problem.
And then Steelix eventually plows through as they're barely putting a plan together to make Meowth the bait to go into this to kind of trick Steelix into falling into the crevasse that I mentioned earlier. Meowth is heading to the crevasse and trying to jump over, but doesn't look like he's gonna make it until Ash pulls out the Staravia in somehow like a millisecond to get Meowth across to the other side, and Steelix falls down. Luckily for them, that worked out, and Meowth was not even up, and Steelix gets like knocked out somehow as it gets up to the bottom of this crevasse.
Well, yeah, it fell to the bottom of a canyon. Like, you would
I
get knocked out
mean,
too.
but then we see that Ash and his friends are able to just slide down pretty smoothly. So I'm thinking this is like maybe 20 feet at most. And
Okay,
this,
but Ash and
it-
friends also managed to like climb up that wall to give Steelix the bubble bath in like 5 seconds. So, you know, I feel like they're just very, very capable at scaling up and down
oh,
cliff faces, clearly.
and they're like, all right, this is our chance. We're gonna go in, take out these shovels, and it'll be all fine. But Team Rocket, in the most like Greek way, I guess, thinking of the Odyssey, where I'm not even go into this, but the downfall of a character from this ancient myth is that they start taunting this monster, and very much in the same way, they start reciting their motto very loudly as Ash and his friends are like, "Get down! You're gonna wake him up!" And this is our one shot at taking the shovels out without it rampaging.
Yep, and they got further in their motto than I expected them, TBH.
Trying to keep it going as Steelix wakes up and stares right at them before Ash's friends can even get close to the head where the shovels are stuck, and just blast them off with a hyper beam, which I thought was fairly easy in terms of punishment for them.
Totally. I mean, like you first shoved these little shovels into poor Steelix's head, and then you
Mhm.
shoved it into a canyon. Like, of course it's gonna be mad.
Yeah, they didn't really think this through. That's not the end of the story for the Bidoof though, because now they have the Steelix stuck in their village, and the people that they're mad at it already blasted away. So now it's up to them to figure out what to do. Um, so Ash sends out Staravia. Oh, well, Staravia's already out from rescuing Meowth actually. So it goes in for a quick attack, I believe, or an air release to take out one of the shovels, which just flies off really dramatically. And the Bidoof are like, "Oh yeah, we got one, we got one."
Yeah, I mean, I was surprised it only took out one shovel, but I guess we're doing these
Mm,
one at a time.
apparently, yeah. I'm like, can you go for two at least, or like wing attack something?
No, absolutely not.
And it tries to go in again, but Steelix goes in for a brutal slam attack, I'm assuming, with the tail. And Staravia's knocked out, so Ash calls it back to its Pokeball. And Pikachu did manage to climb on, so it goes in to take one out with an Iron Tail. And that's 2 down, 1 to go. And Bidoof again are like getting really hyped at this point because like, oh my god, they're doing it, they're doing it.
Oh yeah, Bidoof are just watching their rescuers take out the Steelix.
Yeah, they like build a wall, and that's I think all they know what to do. So, I mean, all right, I guess you can cheer. Pikachu then tries to go for the third one, but it gets knocked off as well. And this is where we get to the big climax, where you know that waterfall that I mentioned before. They're known to live near water, and then they're like, "Oh, there's a waterfall up ahead." Well, this is where the waterfall comes into play because Felix is headed right towards it in a fit of blind rage, and they can't get that shovel out to stop it. So suddenly, it changes from being stopping the Steelix from destroying the village to being stopping the Steelix from throwing itself into water.
The main goal here was not necessarily like saving Steelix, although I guess that's part of it, but because at this point, like Ash has done all the heavy lifting, getting his Staravia to take out one
Yes.
of the shovels and getting Pikachu to take out another one, and they're like, "Oh no, what are we gonna do for the third one?" And the Bidoofs are finally like, they call a little town hall led by the mayor, and they're like trying to decide what to do, and the mayor gives this little like pep rally and is like, we're gonna like finally take charge of our fates, and we're gonna like pull out this third shovel together. So we get an amazing shot of these Bidoofs like flying through the air so that
Oh my
they can
gosh.
land they can land on the Steelix's head, and they're like, okay, we're gonna, because none of us know any moves apparently, we're gonna just like sit on
Yeah.
the Steelix's head and like use our dumpy little paws to like try to pull it out with brute force. And Whereas for the
Oh.
first two shovels, we had Pikachu and Staravia like pull out this awesome move and like send that shovel flying. We have maybe like 27 Bidoofs like clustered around the shovel, just pulling as hard as they can, and they absolutely cannot get the shovel out because they're useless little beavers.
Yeah.
And they're like, so there's a bunch of Bidoof sitting on this Steelix head, and they're all heading towards this waterfall for a sure death.
Yeah, it's like this seems like the least effective way of getting the shovel out. They're like climbing on top of each other to get high enough to pull it out. But like if you have that many, just like push it or something.
I don't know. I
Um
mean, I guess this is why they were like relying on people to rescue them because they're clearly just
apparently
adorable and useless.
they're like evolutionary marvels for making it this far. Um, but eventually, with the help of Ash's Turtwig, which slows down Steelix, using some razor leaves, they buy enough time to get the shovel out just as Steelix reaches the edge of the waterfall, and that's pretty much it. I think Brock's the one who kind of remarks, "Oh, look, the Steelix are being independent and like self-sufficient for once."
Yeah, the Bidoof. But yeah, okay. So this is what I find very okay. I'm very
Mhm.
disappointed that little bandage Bidoof didn't join the team. He was so cute, and I was
Oh, he
so ready for
didn't?
him
I
to
thought he was
join.
on it.
He oh well, I don't know if he joined the Steelix team, but I was talking about like the Ash and Dawn team.
Oh, okay,
But
okay.
yeah, he like decided to stay behind in his little Bidoof oasis. But there's
Mhm.
that. But my big question is like, what was the premise of this entire like episode, but also this village? Because weren't they like hiding out they were hiding out from the Steelix in this like valley, and it seemed like they had been there for a long time, like long enough to establish a village and like a mayor and have a whole like government set up and their life in this
Mm.
little oasis because they were scared of the Steelix. But like as soon as they pulled out the shovels from the Steelix's head, it like left them alone and it was like all good. But presumably the Steelix was attacking, like they were scared of the Steelix before it had shovels in its head. So like why
Yeah.
when they took the shovels out is suddenly the danger gone? I was very confused about that whole point.
My assumption for the timeline is Bidoof, this is like their natural habitat. They've made this home in this valley, and then one day a Bidoof gets lost. The Bidoof that we start our journey with, or the start the episode with, and as literally like the moment they start noticing that he's lost and they're going out to find it is when they hear this random Steelix. So I think it's like a weird like discrepancy that they don't seem to explain, but to me that makes the most sense that they've always lived here, but for some reason, because we saw the Steelix like buried in the ground, they just find out that there's a Steelix when Team Rocket, the moment like Team Rocket accidentally dig their shovels into it. So I didn't seem like to me that this was a hiding place for them, but they also served as that once that Steelix came out. Like I'm assuming they come out of this place to like get some other food or get some lumber and stuff. But for the most part, this is just their like resting place.
Okay, well, I will accept that answer, but I am still unsatisfied.
Okay, no, totally. It's like there's a lot of things that are just slightly unclear in this episode that bothered me. That one included. Yeah, overall, what would you rate this episode titled "Faced with Steelix Determination"?
I would give this episode a solid 5. Like I really enjoyed the Bidoof. They were adorable. Flying Bidoof was so good. Bidoof Mayor, Bidoof Politics was excellent. But yeah, just like just a lot of it just didn't make much sense. So I'm gonna subtract a few points for that.
Yeah, I did kind of enjoy the beginning more than the end, I'd say, where you kind of get the setup where like, all right, Ash and friends are stuck inside here. There's a Steelix on the loose, and they have to figure out how to save these Bidoof without like having them abandon their home. But then it just kind of goes on like a weird, like the stakes kind of fluctuate at certain points, and it doesn't make a ton of sense. But I did enjoy the Bidoof, so for that, I'm going to give it a 6 out of 10.
Lovely.
Yeah, it's an okay episode. Does not contribute anything to the overall plot of the series so far. But you know, we get Bidoof in the wild, which is all right. It's not a ton, but it's something.
It took us 23 episodes for like Bidoof to get its shining spotlight, like moment in the spotlight.
Yeah, I don't even
But at
think.
least we got there.
Yeah, they're on their way to full Aroma Town, so there's like a chance there's Bidoof here. But at this point, you would think that this would have been like 10 episodes ago at least.
Yeah, for sure.
So moving on, we're going to hit up episode 24, Cooking Up a Sweet Story. And this blurb goes, Ash's training battles with Dawn catch the eye of Teresa, a young woman with a strange request. Can she borrow Pikachu for 3 days? Teresa and her aunt Abigail run a cake shop, but Abigail's Pikachu Sugar has disappeared, and Abigail will surely need Sugar's help to win an upcoming baking contest. Ash agrees, and the gang goes to Teresa's house, pretending that Pikachu is Sugar. Now, for all you listeners out there, I hope this gave you the same impression that it gave me when I first started watching this, which is, what?
That was exactly my reaction. So the idea is that they're gonna bring Pikachu to poor old Aunt Abigail and be like, look,
Mhm.
it's your Pikachu Sugar. Now you can make an amazing cake in 3 days. But like what are they planning to do in 3 days time? Just like
Mhm.
rip this Pikachu away from this old lady
Yeah.
after like giving her hope again? That just seems so much meaner in the long run.
Yeah, like that even comes up halfway through the episode, but I'm like, why didn't you think of this at the beginning? There's just so many things that could go wrong and are also very questionable. I was like uncomfortable on several levels.
Yeah, for sure. Also, just like zooming out for a sec, I feel like I don't know if this has been a theme kind of recurring. Yeah, I don't know if this is kind of new to this season or if it's a thing that happens in the anime, but there seems to be this running thread of like people can borrow other people's Pokemon and it's totally a normal thing, which seems very strange to me. Like
Mm.
Jesse has borrowed James's Carnivine for contests. Like Dawn offered for Ash to borrow her Piplup for a contest. Ash lent his Apom to Jessie of all people
Yeah.
for a contest, and now this girl is like, "Let me borrow your Pikachu," and Ash was like, okay." So yeah, there's like lots of Pokemon borrowing happening in this season.
Yeah, I mean that's a good question. In my experience, this is where it happens the most frequently in this season. Like I can't think of so many instances happening this closely in Hoenn, Johto, um, even in like Kanto. There and now that you mention it, there's even more of this that happens later. So I'm going to be interested to hear what your thoughts are on that. But another theme throughout this season is Pokemon being individuals. And that's something that I think Dawn kind of learns as she goes along, that not every Pokemon's the same, even if it's the same species.
Yeah, I thought of that in terms of like they have been trying to emphasize that there are as many
Hmm.
as many Pokemon personalities as there are Pokemon, and then they're like, oh, don't worry, she won't notice that like this Pikachu is not her best friend. It'll be
Oh
fine.
god.
And it's like, how what? It
Uh,
makes no sense.
their cover is if Pikachu scratches its head with its tail the same way Sugar does, she won't notice. That's it. I was like, what? Like, do you even know the same moves as her Pikachu?
When the old lady like battles Team Rocket with Pikachu,
Mhm.
I'm like, what happens when she tries to tell Pikachu to use like I don't know, like Volt Switch or something that Pikachu
Yeah.
doesn't know, and Pikachu's like, oh, like
Uh, I forgot it for Voltackle.
yeah.
Yeah, there's just so many things like that I'm like, what? Why is this plan? But apparently, for the first few minutes, it goes fine as they get back to the bakery, and Pikachu just takes its place like it's Sugar. and then like customers even come in. Okay, that's actually one thing that I thought was like, okay, maybe it's working at some levels because a random customer comes in and they're like, "Oh, hi, Sugar, glad you're back," and Pikachu just goes with it, and they're like, apparently they didn't notice that this isn't the Pikachu that they know.
Yeah.
But Teresa is like serving Ash and his friends like treats and tea because she's clearly bribing them to do this. She's also like 3 days is what she says. Just coincidentally, she's telling her aunt, "Oh yeah, your Pikachu's back, and I'm also letting these strangers stay here for 3 days for no particular reason."
It's the cake baking contest, of course. Makes perfect sense.
Oh yeah, they're here for that. Clearly, they just came really
Yes,
early.
obviously.
They came days early for this cake baking
They were
contest.
really excited for that cake.
He came all the way from Pallet Town to see this.
100%. Yeah.
But then Abigail decides to go out with Pikachu, and Teresa's like, "Oh, this is great. This is a good sign because this means that she's going to go and get her berries because that's what she does with Pikachu. Apparently, is go out to the forest and use its electricity to roast some berries so that they can then get ready to make a cake with them." And they get to their first tree, and Ash is like, I'm gonna follow them, so he kind of tags along from far away. And Abigail picks up the first berry that Pikachu drops, and it's like an Aspear berry, which in the games cures frozen, or yeah, the frozen status that Pokemon may get.
Also, can I just say, I had never
Mhm.
realized before that you pronounce this berry Aspear. I'm just gonna
Yes,
leave that there.
I also learned that this episode. So, fun fact, this is where you learned it. I don't think we've seen that berry in particular before also. I know we've seen like Nanam berries in Battle Frontier, but there we go. We just learned some new pronunciation for a Pokemon item.
Aspear berries.
Aspear berries. She looks at it and she goes, and then she puts it in the basket. And at this moment, I'm like, oh, she knows. She knows this isn't her Pikachu.
I can't believe it took her this it's not even like hanging out with the Pikachu that is the hint. It's like this Pikachu didn't pick my
Yeah,
Aspear berry right.
it's right because she later on says like, "Oh, this. That's when I knew it wasn't." I'm like, really? Like that's what took you? Like, what if you didn't go out to the forest and you've like never noticed? But anyway, Team Rocket interrupts. They're also confused at why she's calling this Pikachu Sugar.
Like even
But
Team Rocket knows that this is not her Pikachu.
yeah, they could tell immediately. They come out to capture it. She directs Pikachu under a tree to like use Thunderbolt to knock down an Aspear berry. It hits a Viper on the head, causing it to like have a big bruise on its noggin. She just apparently like planned that out in the way where like, oh, don't want Pikachu to fight it directly. I wanted to like use a berry to hit its head.
Like big brain moves from old lady positioning Pikachu to thunderbolt the berry to knock out the Seviper, and then going in for the direct hit. So showing that Aunt Abigail is actually a very capable battler too.
Yeah, it's revealed right after this that she apparently competed in the Grand Festival. She was a coordinator then, if you put that together. And to me, that seems like a weird thing to bring up as the example, because presumably a lot of the people competing in contests are young trainers. Like we've seen a few adults, but for the most part, it's kids that are just starting off their Pokemon journey.
It's like when she was a kid, she did that.
Yeah, I'm like, oh, she did that. Like, oh, okay, but like, I'm assuming she would have some of their accomplishments like after that. Like, it seems like a weird thing to put, like, to pull out on your resume. It's
Oh
like, oh
yeah,
yeah,
true. Yeah, I don't know, man.
I guess that's just another way to drop. Oh, there's grand festivals. They've been going on for a long time, and that's going to be Dawn's goal moving forward. Which you kind of already know. But yeah, they make their way back, and she asks Ash for a battle, and they go for it. Like Ash is very much uncomfortable. Everyone else is also like, this isn't a good idea. Just like, what? Like, I just want to battle, which I thought was kind of like another sign that she was on to them already.
Yeah, but also, like, Ash is okay getting his Pikachu punched in the face by, like, everyone they come across, but as soon as, like, he is the one doing the punching, he's like, "No, this is wrong, I can't hurt Pikachu." Like, I'm pretty sure Pikachu gets hurt a lot worse, like, when you're battling with him, but
Yeah, like you train with Pikachu, like we've seen him battle using his own Pokemon against each other. So I I'm like this isn't a big stretch compared to that, but it's definitely portrayed as like a tense moment for some
yes,
reason still.
definitely.
So they get to the opening, and I think Teresa's the referee, and oh no, she is the referee because a specific moment like happens in a sec, and Ash brings out Apom, and Apom's like and then it like looks at Pikachu and it's like what? It turns around.
Yeah, that was funny. Although also Ash is like, "A battle is a battle," and Avon's like,
Yeah,
"Great, no more
yeah.
questions necessary." And I'm like, I would still be asking questions, but like you go monkey, you do you."
Apom is in on it. He's a Hobie. He's like, all right, Ash, I'm just gonna
You
trust you
want me
on
to
this.
beat up this Pikachu? Like, done.
And then Teresa is about to declare the battle start, and you hear her internal monologue say, "I'm so sorry, Ash and Pikachu. Battle
Yeah.
begin."
Oh my god, so ridiculous. Also, this is the scene of the cold open for this episode, and, like, when
Yeah.
it happened, I was so confused. Like, I thought it was switched. Like, I thought Ash was using Pikachu, obviously, because Ash uses Pikachu, and then Aunt Abigail was, like, using the Apom, and I was
Oh.
like, "Did Ash let his Apom out again? Like, what is happening here?"
He's
But,
just
yeah.
really letting Apom like get the lay of the land here.
Yeah,
But
totally.
that's fair because if you don't know who she's referring to when she says like sugar, it could be
Yeah,
either Apom or Pikachu.
and I assumed it was Apom.
I think the one thing that maybe filled me in is that Ash said Apom.
Ah, okay.
So I could be misremembering that, but that might be the like hint that he's battling Pikachu. But yeah, it's not super clear if you are paying super close attention there. But yeah, Apom starts off with a double team. Abigail tells Pikachu, codename Sugar, to use Thunderbolt on the ground and like blow dirt around to like knock out the doubles that Apom created. Apom goes in for a furious focus punch, which looks more like a fury swipes or something. Like focus punch is a move that has to charge up, and he's really just going for it here until it corners Pikachu at a rock, and Apom's still going for it, even though Ash is like, "Oh no, Pikachu!"
So ready to destroy Pikachu there. I was like, what is like Apom was so ready. And if Aunt Abigail hadn't like stepped in front of Pikachu and been like, okay, that's enough, like I don't know what would have happened to poor Pikachu there.
And that's the second time we've seen this because at the Jubilife City contest, it was also going for it when Glamia was its opponent, and then the clock ran out, and it just like dissipated its focus punch like an
Yeah,
inch
that's
away from
true.
Glamia's face. So
Man, Apom is just bloodthirsty, man.
Apom's the secret villain of this season, apparently.
Yeah,
Trying
waiting
to
for that plot twist.
yeah, it was Apom all along. Um,
Yep.
But here, Abigail's like, "Thank you, Teresa, for refereeing," and she just goes inside with Pikachu, and everyone, including me, is confused. So at this point, like, I guess you could piece it pretty clearly that she knows Pikachu isn't her Pikachu because of how Ash and everyone else acted in this battle.
Yeah, totally.
And here, they're in their rooms later at night. Ash is like talking with Teresa and everyone else about this plan, and they're like, no, it doesn't feel right. I thought we could do it, but after that battle, I just can't go through this with this anymore. And he runs on out before anyone can stop him to try and tell Teresa the truth.
Takes this long for Ash's conscience to kick in. Takes like him almost beating up his own Pikachu with his other Pokemon for him to be like, you know what, this is kind of weird, and I don't really want to do this.
It almost would have been better if Teresa had been, hey, Aunt Abigail, I found this person with a Pikachu who could potentially help you with getting your berries. Like, would you like that? Rather than, I'm going to pretend this Pokemon that you've probably known for a long time is this other Pokemon. And just like not have any idea of how to break the news to you 3 days afterwards.
Yeah,
For
very strange premise.
it's clearly the I think this is the best slash worst part is when Ash goes out to meet Abigail as she's chilling on the moon with Pikachu trying to maintain its cover still by scratching its head with its tail.
Will say
She,
it's very, very cute. I'm glad we managed to work that into the series.
that's the one redeeming part of this episode.
Yep.
She goes, "Let me guess, this is actually your Pikachu," and everyone is just shocked. They're like, "What? She knew? How?" And she's like, "Oh yeah, I've known for like a bit since I saw the berries." And Teresa goes like, "And Abigail, like she's mad at her. Like, what? No, you don't get to be mad at her. You're the one who lied."
This is also a very confusing moment because then, like, Aunt Abigail and Teresa were also lying, and they're like, actually, we know exactly why Pikachu left. It's because I told Pikachu to,
Yeah.
like, go do berries better, and Pikachu, like, disappeared into the forest and has never come back. Which was, like, a confusing thing to lie
Hmm.
about, but I guess that is out there now.
This family clearly just has communication issues because
Clearly.
both of them we're not on the same wavelength here. And yeah, like you mentioned, Pikachu apparently was looking for a way to get these Aspear berries to break open, and it couldn't do that. And they really wanted to because it wanted to help her use these berries in her cake for the contest. For like, I guess, apparently, like it has to be done this way. Like, I can't imagine why they couldn't use like a machine or something in this world to break open an Aspear berry.
No, it has to be the Pikachu Thunderbolt giving it that unique roasty flavor.
I, apparently, it's not super clear like just how effective that even is, but that's when Pikachu disappeared, and it looked for a way to get stronger, which is vague, but we see what that means later on. But at this point,
Foreshadowing.
yes, at this point, did you like have suspicion of what this actually meant?
I wasn't thinking too hard about it, but,
Okay.
like, I think it, like, didn't make sense. Well, first of all, it was unclear how long Pikachu was gone for, and then it also didn't make sense that they'd be, like it just didn't make sense that they'd be, like, so sad that, like, Pikachu is
Mhm.
gone forever, and it's like, how long has Pikachu been gone? And, like, didn't you, like you would expect that it was coming back if you're like, "Go be stronger," and then, like, Pikachu,
Hmm.
like, left, and I think you can kind of guess, like, what it is getting up to while it's away. Like, I wouldn't jump to, like, "We will never see sugar ever again, and life is so sad," you know? So it seems
Yeah.
just, like, weird logical leaps being made here.
Teresa either just didn't have a clue. Abigail told her like nothing about what Pikachu was going off to do, or she was making those leaps in logic there, and like, oh, this Pokemon's never coming back for some reason.
Yeah,
It's just
can
a
you imagine if Abigail was like, "I know exactly what Pikachu's doing," and Teresa's like Teresa didn't know and is like, "I have your sugar," and Abigail is like, "Sugar should be, like, training in the
yeah.
forest. Who the heck's Pikachu is this?"
What? What are you talking about? I was like, oh, nothing. Oh man. But then Team Rocket, of course, comes in and interrupts all this again in an Asper themed slash modeled machine where very specifically once they capture Pikachu and run off, they say this machine is as hard as an Asper berry,
Yeah.
and we see attacks bounce off of it, like Staravia at some point uses wing attack, and, and it's just like, why? Like, what? Why did you pick this specifically? Why are you being so intentional with this machine?
No, man, they drew inspiration from that battle in the forest, and they were knocked out by the Asperberry, and they were like, "Clearly, like, we can draw inspiration from nature for our next big machine." Like, we tried going back old school with the pit trap thingies in the last episode, and
Mm.
those didn't work, so we clearly need to, like, go back to this idea of making high-tech thingies inspired by high tech nature. I don't know, man.
Yeah, they were taking the modern problems require modern solutions approach.
Yes, exactly.
Excellent. Okay, that makes a lot more sense. So they run off in this machine with Pikachu. Ash has climbed on, is trying to get the get it to open up using Staravia, and everyone else climbs into this van that has no license plate and chases after them.
So sketch.
Yeah, I'm like, oh, okay, we have cars in this universe. And specifically cars that look very much like real world cars. I'll maybe like tweet a picture of this later, but did you
Yeah,
pay
they like
attention?
didn't. I didn't actually pick up on that, but yeah, like they didn't just jump on a bunch of Tauros and like go running after this machine.
Yeah, or like I don't know. I have questions about this car, but anyway, as it looks like Team Rocket is getting way deeper and deeper into the forest, they're hit by a big, like, extremely powerful thunderbolt that just stops them in their tracks. And as the rest of the team catches up, they're able to see that it's a Raichu. And
It is.
yeah, yeah, right? It's like, oh, I wasn't seeing this at all. Abigail's like, could it be sugar? And to confirm that, almost like it heard it from all the way across this forest, it scratches its head with its tail.
Which is very cute.
Admittedly, very cute. And I wonder if that's the reason why it actually evolved, because it just wanted a tail that's long enough to reach it more comfortably.
Definitely. Yeah, 100%.
Um, and from here, it immediately goes into rescue Pikachu using Focus Punch to break the machine, which Team Rocket is confident won't break, but after a flurry of punches, it breaks in, grabs Pikachu's cage, and jumps back out, and then blasts him away with a Thunderbolt.
Can I just say that Raichu pulling focus punches with his teeny tiny adorable pudgy little paw is like is good.
It is very neat. I enjoyed that for sure. I was expecting it maybe to know like some other moves, but I guess Focus Punch is what it went into the forest for. Uh,
Yeah, gotta focus punch those aspear berries to get that flavor.
and found a Thunderstone somewhere in here.
Oh yeah,
Uh,
true.
this was an effective journey. I'm like, did you go underground? Like, where did you get this Thunderstone? I want like a movie about this Raichu's journey because I have
Yeah,
questions.
it's been through some stuff in that forest.
It's seen something. For sure. But Team Rocket blasts off, and then they get back home where she's made a cake. So, like, some time has passed, apparently. And they're like, oh, this is amazing. I want seconds. And then they're like, oh, this will win you first prize in the contest for sure. And they're like, oh, yeah. And Don's like, and I'll win first prize too. And like, yeah, there you go. And then that's the tone we leave it off in, where it's like, the the way they tie this into the bigger arc is Dawn is inspired to get first place.
Yeah, very very weird. I'll say like these two episodes didn't really do anything for the plot. Like they seemed both kind of fillery and like yes, we're gonna go on these side quests that have nothing to do with our actual goals with very like questionable logic driving these storylines. But look, cute Pokemon.
Yeah, cute Pokemon. Pikachu gets a fun little gift right there of it scratching its head. But yeah, I guess it's time to jump into the rating here, unless there's anything else you want to say about it.
Nope, I am ready to give our overall impressions of this episode.
So, episode 24, Diamond and Pro Anime, titled Cooking Up a Sweet Story. I would have to give this a 5 out of 10. I think, like, the premise just has so many weird holes in it and things that kind of contradict stuff that we've established in terms of this season's themes and tones that just make it really weird to watch. And at some point, like, there's a morality involved here, and it's a very delayed, at least on Ash's part. Confused at how the heroes are portrayed in this story. The last part especially kind of threw me off, where they shoehorned in that this is a like a thing that's gonna motivate Dawn to do well in her contest for some reason, even though she was barely a part of this little story.
Yeah, I agree. I didn't love the whole premise of this like tricking this old lady thing. Like
Mm-hmm.
that's not cool. So
Mm-hmm.
I think I would give this episode like a 4.5. But I'm gonna give it an extra half point and boost that up to a 5 just because zooming all the way back to the beginning of the episode when we first meet Teresa and Brock goes all Brock on this girl. And Krogunk like immediately takes him out and starts dragging him away. And like Ash and Dawn are just like watching Krogunk take Brock away, and Ash goes, I wonder where Krogunk takes him. And I laughed so hard. So I'm gonna give like the episode an extra half point just for that line.
Totally fair. I forgot about that, but yes, I also laughed when I got to that moment. Well, that is pretty much it for this week. So these are a weird pair of episodes, and moving forward, like they finally get to Floroma Town. So it's really, I think, these two and the following one, episode 25, that have this like weird filler tone to them that I guess they just wanted to have fun with it or something, but not ones that I would recommend watching. Overall, things that aren't relevant to the overall plot, unless you just want an introduction to Bidoof, and then this episode, a cute moment with Pikachu and a fun moment with the Krogunk.
Yeah, pretty much. Just listen to this episode of Sights on
Yeah,
Sinnoh. You'll get everything you need from those 2 episodes.
there you go. Those are all the highlights that you'll be needing moving forward. But yeah, thank you, Carina, for stopping by today.
Thanks for having me on. It was a pleasure as always.
Awesome. Yeah, I'm glad you. I'm glad you get to discuss this one because for me as well, I feel like I had more fun discussing than watching these two.
Yeah, for sure.
But yeah, anyway, if you are listening in and want to watch these episodes for yourself, at least not these, but other ones, I will point you to watchpokemon.com, watch.pokemon.com, which is where you can watch the Diamond and Pearl anime season 10. And they just recently put up season 11 as well. So those rotate out though, so make sure to catch them before they are gone. There's also a few other places online where you can watch them for free with ads, so feel free to look for those as well. If you just want to download episodes and watch them offline, super cool way of doing that. Honestly, a little easier to navigate that site on your phone because you can just swipe through the episodes, while on desktop you have to click the arrow button.
Yes. Clicking 22 times to get to this episode.
So
The
many
things I
clicks.
do for this show.
Yes, it's the cost of trying to get through this show. Hopefully, someone at the Pokemon company is listening to us and fixes that UI. But if you want to help us with that, feel free to retweet this episode, share it with friends. Anyone else who's a fan of Sinnoh and is hyped for Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl coming out in a few months. Super appreciate it. And again, feel free to drop your thoughts on these episodes in the comments below. What do you think of Bidoof? Was Sugar an episode that we could just throw away? I thought yes. But if you have any other opinions, feel free to share them down there, and we might just bring them up in the next episode with Carina.
Yeah, listener mail.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, this has been another episode of Sights on Sinnoh. My name is William.
And I am Carina.
And we will see you next time with a Roserade of an episode.
Bye.
See you in Sinnoh.